Welcome to Week Gen C.
Focused on young adults in the Northwest
And their careers in a post-pandemic world. What do you need to get that dream job?
We get the know-how, the tips and the tricks from local employers.
Helping you get to where you want to be in your chosen career.
How's it going, Fergal? Nice to come and join us. Can you tell us a little about Extern?
Well, Extern here in the West are involved in communities and children's services. They were one of the largest, if not the largest, charity across the island of Ireland. Huge in Dublin, Limerick, Kildare, Belfast. But specifically here in the West, we are a community organisation and children's services organisation. So we work closely with statutory and other voluntary sectors, and within the community we have employment programs and training programs.
How about it? And what was your first ever job?
My first ever job when I was younger was a barman. Believe it or not, I was a barman, yeah.
How'd you get your foot in the door? You just knew somebody, or?
I went up and asked for a job, and and that was it. When I was 16, I worked in a bar. I was about 21 or 20, and I left and travelled. I travelled to, lived in England for a while, went to live in America for a while, in Australia for a while, and I became multi-skilled in trades. Over there I was a rigger, and then became a joiner and first and second fixing suspended ceilings.
Well, not plenty of experience. What would have been your first job with Extern?
My first job was Extern with a Janus program, it was called. Fantastic. It was a responsive program for young people who were at risk and vulnerable. So we were constantly responding to a crisis or issues within the community, and it was fantastic. You built great relationships with these young people, and still you would see these young people who are now men today would still come over, chat and talk in the street, and it's a good feeling. It's a good one in their journey and where they are. From there, I went on to youth support, where East Bank Youth Support for the last 14 or 15 years. I worked the waterside area of Derry within all the communities, and worked with young people and families.
What would be the most rewarding part of the job?
Seeing the young people improve and seeing them where they want to go and choosing their path in life, or where they are, this path they're choosing now. There are some great success stories there. So we have young people who went on to do IT, we have young people who went on to do welding, in that sense, and your relationship with them help guide them on what they wanted to do. You're putting it out there, and you're telling them to talk to their teacher, talk to the careers teacher, and then linking them with statutory services on what we can do in order to promote and encourage the chances in getting where they need to be at. So yeah, it's a pretty rewarding job, particularly when you're working with young people. And
you get to see what you've done for them and how you've helped them develop.
You might see them in a sense for a few years, but when you look at them and the difference in them and the difference, as opposed to the change of behaviours and the change as they mature, and how they respond to yourself, that's rewarding. Right. That's rewarding. So I enjoy that part of it also. Particularly those ones who went on to make life-changing events.
What would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
It was an old guy. I used to work with him. I was in America, believe it or not, and it was simple, because I was working 80 or 90 hours a week on the construction site, and I was just crazy. I was there to work, and that's what I did. I was there to work. And he told me, you don't make money with them, you make money with that. And it was all, at that stage for me, it was all about the money, so exactly. It was all about, the way, so you do it with that. Yeah. And I always reflect on it and always think about it, and I actually say to the young people coming through, because they'll be going, but much will you make, and what do you get, and what do you get? And I said, well look, if it's that you're looking to go, you make money with that, not with that.
100%. Should a young person follow their passion, or should they instead look for someone that's like just steady money and make sure it pays the bills?
That's quite difficult, and that is quite difficult. Some people are very lucky, and so they are very lucky where their passion is a career, You know, and there's very few of those that are lucky enough to come across that. But it's very, I would just follow with the young people and try and guide them in that way. For me to turn around and say is, look, choose a career path and make a good steady wage and go the career, but maybe not be happy. You know, where other ones where your passion's there, but passion isn't going to pay the bills.
True.
You know, so you got to find that happy medium, and if you're lucky enough, you'll step into a job that is your passion. That is your passion, and if it's something you love, you'll never work another day in your life.
100%. With so many people applying for the same jobs, what should you do to make your CV or application stand out?
Do you know what? Your CV, I would say, every minute detail that you've did that can be accredited. Even the simplest things that can't be accredited in a sense of if you're volunteering, and whether if you're volunteering in a boxing club or a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club or stuff like that, show what you do. Even if you train in them, tell them about your passion and what your passion is, and how many times a week you would have that in your passion. You know, whether it's fashion, it's going to be, because it shows that somebody's dedicated. And an employer can look at that and say, you know, if we can guide that dedication can spin off with us also.
100%.
You know.
What advice would you give a young person about social media when they're applying for jobs?
Yeah, look, social media's a big one. Look, everyone looks on their social media. Employers will look on your social media. They do look on your social media, and depending on what job you're going for, you know, what you put on social media, what way of you that may be inappropriate or not appropriate to them, you know, and you may not feel it's, you know, that's appropriate, but it may not suit the vision of what that organisation or that employer is about. You know, and given the country we live, you know, the slightest wee remark, and with different cultures, and with you know, so you gotta be careful in the social media world.
You would say even try and keep it like a professional, keep a professional look online, or maybe just keep some things private.
Keep it private and professional. It doesn't have to be professional.
Just not unprofessional.
Just not unprofessional. It has to be. You know, you have to be honest without upsetting someone else. You know, because there's always someone else that can be on the receiving end or take it the wrong way. Your message may be communicated a different way when you're reading it off a social media post or even off a text.
Because that's what I mean. Tone has a lot of context.
Tone has a lot of context, and how people receive a message isn't how you give the message.
100%.
You know, and it's much easier saying it and getting your message across than writing it, because when you're writing it, and particularly again on social media, again particularly if you're writing it on a weekend, and if you're in a feel-good factor, you know, that may come across differently come the Monday morning.
100%.
You know, so.
What are the skills and qualities that every employer wants, no matter what area or industry you're in?
Commitment. You know, they look to see your punctuality, your commitment to your job, and I suppose to not only to yours, but to yourself. And if they can see that somebody's enthusiastic and they're committed to what they're trying to achieve in the job, then you'll do well within that job. And a good employer will recognise that. You will have employers that won't recognise that. And that's where you get the experience. But if you go to a good employer that is able to recognise your commitment and your enthusiasm, then you'll go well with that employer, and you should go further with them.
How can you work out what your strengths and weaknesses are as a young person?
Actually, that will come with time. Look, everybody. I wouldn't say that it's a weakness. There's no everybody's got areas of improvement to do, and it doesn't matter where you are and what job you are. It doesn't matter if you're a lower paid worker or if you're in a high echelon as a CEO. There's always areas of improvement for every department that you're in, and for everybody to make. So you always focus on your strengths, and while trying to improve on the areas of need that you need to improve on. And I wouldn't say it's a weakness. We all have areas to improve on, but always focus on your strength. Do what you're good at. Try and skill match in your job. Do what you're good at, and train yourself up to where you need improvements on, and it's a good focus and a good way of moving forward, because you become a more rounded and more skilled employee.
Well, cheers, Fergal. Appreciate you coming on.
Not at all.
Appreciate talking to us. Very insightful. Cheers.
No problem.
Thank you.
Oh.